run. First round knockout. I mean, you name it, I knocked them out. Everybody that I fought, I was like, line them up. Next fight, Buck. Hey, there's a fight in Ohio. Line it up. Yeah. Line Antonio Mendez, Wayne Cole. These are prominent guys at the time. Line them up, knock them out. I was on a tear. Like, I just...
Let's Talk Assets podcast. My name is Chris A. Williams, and I'm joined by my co-host,
Giovanni Paradis.
And y'all, we have a very, very special guest today.
Yes, sir.
I'm chewing on something good right now, right? This is Juggernaut Cookie Company, and we're joined by the founder of it, Antwain Britt.
What's up, boys? How you doing?
Yes, sir. Thank you for coming on. We're very excited.
Absolutely.
Antwain Britt, you're a former professional fighter, right?
Right.
But now turned entrepreneur. Founder of Juggernaut Cookie Company. So tell us a little bit about, where you started and how you got to this point. Let's go all the way back.
All the way back. All right.
Where are you from, Antwain?
Born and raised here in Hampton Roads. Went to Indian River High School. Born in Norfolk. Went to Indian River High School. Spent the majority of my youth and adolescence in Chesapeake. And then I left school and kicked around in college for a little bit, went to Old Dominion and didn't graduate, but and then went into the whole workforce thing.
So let's go back a little bit to let's just take senior year. So senior year, what was Antwain at as far as his mindset? What was life looking like? What was your dreams? What was your aspirations? What were you planning to do in life at 18 years old? 17, 18 years old?
Man, so I've always wanted to be, and even going back now, I think about, it's like, man, maybe I should have done that. But I was a fine arts major. I wanted to do comic books. And,
okay.
And when I went to school, I actually went for fine arts.
Really? That's very
I was very, I can basically draw about anything. We had a couple, me and like 2 or 3 other kids in the school. We used to just battle who artwork was better, just everything from Ninja Turtles to Marvel stuff we would just hone our skills on stuff like that. And so when it came time to get out of high school and go into college, that was kind of what I wanted to do. I wanted to be an artist. And until people started telling me there's no money in art. I wish I wouldn't have listened. I wish I wouldn't have listened.
Big money in art.
So walk us through. So like you just you were in a creative kind of mindset back then. You really had nothing about entrepreneur or anything as far as you just wanted to do art and create. Was one thing on your mind back then? Or tell me about the whole money aspect, how that played into it at that early of an age.
I've always been money driven, man. We used to put like fundraisers together, for whatever. We would make up I would make up fundraisers and go and say, hey, we raising money for this. And the money would actually go to those things, but we had to take a little bit off the time.
I got you. I got you. Hey.
I remember one time, this predates that, I was maybe 10 or 11 years old, and my dad came home, and most random stuff, man. I had a huge box of little Now Laters roll candy, and he was like, yeah, you can have that candy. And instead of just eating it like any other 10-year-old kid would do, I was like, I'm going to sell all this shit. So I went to around the neighborhood, and I would just sell Nowadays for 25 cents. 25 cents.
Okay.
25 cents. So, and I've always had a entrepreneurial mind, but not really sure how to hone that, how to focus that. Mm-hmm. And again, now going back to high school and going into college, it was one of those things where I just wanted to be a giant graphic designer. I wanted to be the guy's art that you saw if you open a book or open a comic book or saw an ad or a billboard. I wanted to be that guy. And in my head, I didn't know how I would get there, but in my head, that equated to a lot of money. So,
okay.
That's kind of
I like it.
Was.
So you had some type of vision back then of where, I like that. I love that. Mm-hmm. Did you play sports, and like, that was the first question. The second part of the question would be like, what was your family's expectations? Because a lot of people talk about that when you graduate high school, how your family, some families, they push you into a certain lane, or hey, do this. I just want to know what that kind of process was like for you.
Right. So first part of the question, wrestling. We played football, and I was okay at football, but I knew I was never going to be one of those guys that, I was going to be a D1 football player. I was a defensive end. I was kind of chunky. So,
Okay.
I was a little undersized to be a D1 player. So wrestling is what I gravitated to. All state, 2 years in a row wrestling, freestyle All-American. So wrestling, that was my baby. I was, I wish I would have focused a little bit more on it from I still ate whatever I wanted to eat. I didn't take it as seriously as a lot of the other kids did, but I had natural talent. I was just, I was good at it. So that was my main focus from a athletic standpoint. As far as a family dynamic for financial success, I didn't really have that. I didn't really have adults in my life that were entrepreneurs. There wasn't something that we saw. I was, came from a lower middle class Black neighborhood, so it was one of those things. Like my mom, and when I say lower middle class, we're going more towards the lower class, right?
Yes, sir.
And that was based on my mom working 2 jobs. She would get off at 5, go right to another job, and it was one of those things. Working hard was never a problem for us, or the idea of having to work hard to make money was never a problem for us, because we were indoctrinated with that growing up.
That's beautiful.
But from being able to optimize your abilities to make optimum money, we never got that. I mean, I didn't have, my dad was an entrepreneur. He was a commercial contractor, and but he was a cog in the system, right? And I never had like uncles or cousins or anything like that, or aunts that were entrepreneurs. Everybody worked 9 to 5. So just that mindset of taking something that's yours and creating this thing was always kind of foreign to us growing up. So we didn't really see that like you would see it in a lot of other households and a lot of other neighborhoods. It wasn't something we saw on a regular basis. So
yeah, that makes sense. So like what you're saying, you got that basis, that foundation of working hard growing up, and also you had that mindset of you just wanted to make money. So that combination is perfect for you as an entrepreneur, the life that you're at right now.
Right.
But before we even talk about the life that you're at now, let's talk about Juggernaut, which is what you're doing right now, right? Juggernaut Cookie Company.
Yes.
But let's talk about how Juggernaut that name even first got associated with you.
And all right, so I was retired, former, whatever you want to call it, professional fighter. I fought for the Ultimate Fighting Championship, the UFC Strike Force, from 2006 to about 2011. I started out as an amateur, and I actually got into it because I was overweight. I was a fat kid. I was 320, and going back a little bit, I dropped out of college, started working a 9 to 5, and just became like super unhappy with life as a whole.
Where did you go to college?
I went over to U.
Okay.
Dropped out and ended up taking a job at a company called the United States Gypsum, their sheetrock factory here in Hampton Roads.
Okay.
And in that, I made good money. Back then, what was that, 2002?
How old were you then?
I was 24.
24. Okay.
23, 24.
Okay.
And starting pay was $9.65. I was like, $9.65. We about to cake. We going to Sizzler tonight, baby. And we went but for a 23-year-old kid at that time, you like, that's good money. Like no kid. Oh, I'm sorry. I had my daughter. Okay. My daughter, Kayla, I had her when I was about 21 years old.
Gotcha.
And I was like, this would be a great opportunity for me to build a life. I had a girlfriend who ended up being my wife. And I was able to buy a house and able to, do all the things that we as adult men are supposed to do for their family. But super unhappy, like very sedentary. I was eating like I was still working out, but I wasn't working out anymore. And I put on a bunch of weight. My heaviest I got to about 320 pounds. And it was not sexy by any stretch of the imagination. And doing that whole thing, one day I I need to get out of this. It's like I hit a wall, and I knew that unless I make a drastic change, this is going to be my life, you know. And I remember going into work, and my supervisor, Nelson Bond, awesome guy, still remember to this day.
Right.
I was at lunch, and I had a honey bun in his hand, and I had like a sandwich in his hand. And he starts laughing out of nowhere. And he's like, "Yep, Britt, you fat and happy. I had been at Gypsum for about 4 years at this point. So I was making a lot more money than I was starting. And he's like, "Man, you fat and happy. You got a house now. You got plenty of money in your pocket. You ain't going nowhere."
He was comfortable.
I was very comfortable. He's like, "You ain't going nowhere." And I don't know why that statement just rung so deeply, but
because it had more meanings than one, right?
yeah,
You ain't going nowhere.
I ain't going nowhere. It's like you're stuck here. We make you happy enough to where you won't find anything better than this anywhere else.
So walk us through the mindset. So you're 24, 25, 26. You're still young. And by all stretch of the imagination, you have, quote unquote, the American dream. You got a stabilized income, employer. You know, you're advancing in the career space. What about that circumstance for you made it unhappy?
Just because I knew that there was more. It's like most people, especially that age, you only know what's in front of your face. Yeah, I think I've been out of the state one time. I had never experienced anything that would lead me to believe that there was better out there. But internally, I knew that there was better out there. So when he said that, the next day I went in, put my 2 weeks notice in, left. I had no way to make money. I was just like, I'm done. I'm out. Around the same time, me and my kid's mother were kind of on the rocks. We were splitting up, and I had a rental property that I kind of lived on for a little bit, and did little side jobs here and there just to make the ends meet until I figured out what it was I wanted to do. And I walked into Hybrid Academy. One day, had a buddy that was telling me, "Yeah, you should go check this out." And so I walk in, and the lights are off, and the doors are unlocked, but no lights on, and nobody's there. So I was like, all right, well, nobody's here. So I begin to walk out, and Buck Grant walks from the back, and he says, "Hey, man, how you doing?" I was like, "Yeah, man, Don, told me to come over, and I want to try this hold. I want to just get in shape, and this UFC thing looks cool, so I think I want to try that too." And he started laughing. He was like, "All right, fill out this waiver, and here you go." Yeah. And he probably saw a big dude out of shape, and it's like, all right, well, I get this guy comes in every day.
Yep.
And I started training, and I went all in. I was there 2-3 hours a night. I would get off of work at 7 and walk into the gym at 7:05 and just train until 9:30, 10 o'clock.
What were you doing for work at this point?
I think I was working for Cox Cable at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a field tech at Cox Cable.
Okay.
So I would get off at 7. We had our tough books, our laptops in the truck, in the van. I would log off and then walk right into the gym.
Yeah.
And did that for months. And I lost about 50 pounds in a 3-month period.
In
3-month period. Yeah. We were
training for a fight.
I was training for a fight. I had my first amateur fight that, about 4 months in, and I went into a tournament, the Northwestern United States, or whatever it was, and going in as a novice, because I've only been training for 3 months, and there was no other heavyweights in the novice division. I was weighing 265 at the time, and if I wanted to fight, I had to go into the open advanced division, and there were a bunch of monsters, and there was nobody fat like me, and I was the fattest dude in there. Everybody else was like jagged, 260,
chiseled up,
like 5% body fat. I was like, man, this is about to be an ugly weekend for me, and end up winning.
Oh, word.
My first fight in 45 seconds, and then one in the finals. Yeah, one in the finals. And
had them hands, didn't you?
Yeah, I was going for blood.
Yeah. So you started, what discipline did you start off boxing? You already had a wrestling background.
Right.
So did you start off boxing, kickboxing? Did you do a little bit of everything?
I started off Muay Thai. Hybrid was a Muay Thai school. So I learned, after 3 months, you don't know Muay Thai, you know, enough to, fumble around. But but I relied on my wrestling a lot. I would throw a punch, take him down, throw a punch, take him down.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I won my first couple fights. In my third amateur fight, I went out and I'm boxing around and whatever, and I just throw a left hook, one, and sleep the guy out. And that was like, damn, and that's where the name Juggernaut comes from. Because when you go down, you finish off with the ground and pound, and one of the guys after the fight, he's like, yo, you put you on a chain, bro. You look like a pit bull out there.
Yes,
and Buck was like, yeah, like a juggernaut. And it stuck.
The name stuck.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Before we even go any further, I want to touch on one thing that you said. I think the audience, y'all might have missed it. You said when you quit your job at the Sheetrock Company, you said that you had a rental property that was able to sustain you. You know, you had a kid at the time. You had turmoil in your life. You had bills that were due. And you had quit your job, but you had that rental property.
Right.
You had that asset that was able to, sustain them at the time. So that's something for all the budding entrepreneurs and things like that out here. You guys build up your assets. Y'all will be able to take increased risk and such to be able to, elevate your business career.
Where's that house today?
Man, I wish I still had that house. That house in the town center. So it was to touch on it a little bit, that was the first house I ever bought. When I was 23 years old. I paid 23, 24, whatever, somewhere around there, and I paid $78,000 for a house, 3-bedroom, 2.5 townhome in town center. And when we stayed in for a little while, and when it was time for us to move, want a little bit bigger house, we had a second baby on the way, so we go buy a bigger home, and I'm thinking about selling it. And if I would have sold it, I would have made about $41,000 on it. And that was a pretty quick turnaround, $41,000 over 3 years. Yeah, I'm doing something, right? But I was like, let's hold off. We were able to qualify without having to sell this house, debt to income, And so we had this home in town center, and I rented it out to a couple, and we were making, so my mortgage was $635 on it, and we were charging $1,100 a month. Back then it was like, dang, can I get $1,100 for this? Now $1,100, you jumping on that in town center, 3-bedroom, 2-bath.
No way, you're not.
So, but I mean, if I would have kept that home, it would have been paid. And then like we rented to them for 2 years, and then I sold it. If I would have kept that house would have been paid for 10 times over by now. I would be renting out for $2,500 a month. So, that's, again, foresight is, is one of those things which I didn't have a whole lot of, but I was able, to get an extra $500-600 a month at that time that gets you over the hump. That's groceries, that's cell phone bill, that's car payment. So, yeah.
That's beautiful.
So I know, going back to your fighting career, right? So as the Juggernaut, you were slated to be on The Ultimate Fighter, right?
Right.
And for you guys that don't know, The Ultimate Fighter, if you win that, that's what, a guaranteed contract over 3 years?
Yeah, I think it ended up being like a 6-year deal. It could be a 6-year deal if you did extend the contract.
And you were one of the people that, had high expectations, right? And you won your initial fight. But like, tell us a bit about like what happened. You broke your hand or something?
Yeah, so I was one of the front runners, myself and another fighter, Ryan Bader, who actually did end up winning the competition to win the whole season. And my first fight for the guy, Ryan Jimmo, and beat him up pretty bad, but broke his hand in the process. And Frank Mir was my coach. And so in between the first and second round, I come over and I whisper in his ear, because he's mic'd up. And I say, hey, I think I broke my hand. He was like, yeah, can you throw it? I was like, yeah, I can throw it. And I go out there and have a better second round than the first round. And, but again, he was mic'd up. The producers heard it. It's like, hey, we're going to send you to the hospital just to see. I was like, no, I'm good. I'm straight. I'm good. He's like, no, we're just going to go check. And it was broken. And it had swollen out. It was fat. And I was like, man, I'll cover it up and just go. But
it takes a lot of grit though, because you wanted to finish, it's just.
Oh yeah. It was one of those things, like failure was not an option. Like to be on that show, you have to give up basically everything. You're going to be gone for 16 weeks. You have a home that you're supposed to be taking care of. I had a girlfriend at the time. I was like sending her money to pay all my bills. I had to, get rid of, keep my apartment. So I had to have her pay. And we made $500 a week per diem or, payment for the show. And that would all go back. And, so it was one of those things, like to be on a reality show, you give up a lot. But if you get that contract, totally worth it. Yeah. So, especially being a 20, at the time I was 26, 27 years old, it's easy decision, right?
Yeah.
You go do it because I'm going to win, right? So
absolutely.
Yeah, man.
I love it. So where were you at mentally after? Because that's got to be very difficult to go through. You break your hand. It's like, okay, this is another detour because I was on this straight path to this goal and I was on the right path. And then boom, this happens. What does that take you mentally? What happens after that?
Oh, I was beat up. I was like, man, I'm going to give it up. I'm not going to fight anymore. I'm going to find a job. I'm going to get a 9 to 5. When I got back, because again, giving up everything. I was like, my car, my home, of course you're away from your kids too. So, it was one of those things where it's like, all right, maybe this ain't for me. Maybe this ain't it. And, but that was fleeting. That lasted a minute because because a person like me, when you tell me or there's something in my way, I was like, all right, plan B. How do I get around it? How do I get over it? How do I get under? So heal up the hand and went back to work and I scheduled my next fight ASAP as soon as I could. And I just went on a run. First round knockout. I mean, you name it, and knocked them out. Everybody that I fought, I was like, line them up. Next fight, Buck. Hey, there's a fight in Ohio. Line it up. Yeah. Line Antonio Mendez, Wayne Cole. These are prominent guys at the time. Line them up, knock them out. I was on a tear. This is the only way I get back to that. I can't just beat people. I have to destroy people, and that's kind of the mindset I was in.
Yeah, and I saw just from reading up about you and such that you were a pretty versatile fighter. Like you were in multiple weight classes, right? So you were in the heavyweight, then the light heavyweight, and even up.
And then middleweight, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. That was, if those weigh-in pictures, I was hungry. I was hungry, literally.
What weight was that in that league?
That was 185. And I hadn't weighed 185 pounds since my freshman year in high school.
And when you started, you walked in that gym at 320s?
320.
Right now, 185.
That's almost half. God. You lost half, man. That's crazy.
I wanted a burger so bad.
Yeah. So I think that it's so important to highlight where, life happened to you. You were on, it's like literally winning the lottery, getting on that show. You know what I mean? It's a once-in-a-lifetime type of opportunity for someone that was on the journey you were on. You got hit in the teeth, literally, kind of with that injury, and it then propelled you. I think a lot of people that hear this can relate that when you get hit in the teeth, you got to pick yourself back up. And it's like that energy you were feeling. You were so angry, but you took that emotion and it looked like you put it into being in a positive direction,
right?
And to kind of get back towards your dreams. So lead us to you're fighting, you're going on a tear. That takes extreme dedication and time to be fighting that often. Right. For anyone that knows anything about fighting, you kind of in camp. That's a lot. You got to stay, your discipline, your diet, your regiment, everything. You're very disciplined to be elite. And so you're going through that mindset. So staying disciplined. Talk us about fighting, because I think that translates to how you are in business today. Some of those lessons that you learned, because you have to do a lot of boring things. That's a lot of the same things when you're training for a fight, right? That consistently, that are not so much fun.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And walk us through that and what that was like.
Yeah. So there's a saying, and it, across the board, and especially pertains to business. I know you heard it. High tide make all boats float. And it'll be great to say you can go into a fight and I'm just going to murder everybody. This is going to be a 1-round fight. I'm going to kill this dude. But that's not the reality. Reality is that you have to expect that the guy across from you is as good, if not better than you. So I have to train to eliminate any hole that I may have in my game. And that's what training was like. I would be in at this point, I was doing it full time. I wasn't working anymore. So from the fighting, I was able to have a living. I could make a living off of that. And I would train 2 hours in the day, nap, eat, go back to maybe run some errands. And then I was back to the gym, train another 2-3 hours. So this was life for me. And you know, just like that, business is the same way. Like, there's no way you're gonna go into be an entrepreneur, be a business owner, and not work. You're gonna work harder doing that than you're ever gonna work for somebody else.
Yeah.
And that's the mindset that I had, you know, because essentially I was a business owner at the point. My business was me. And if I wanted to continue to make money, if I wanted to continue to create a life where, you know, I didn't have to go to a job or 9 to 5, I had to be good at fighting. Every loss was less money, and less money was just not acceptable. So
yeah. That leads me to a question I wanted to ask, right? So we know you had many wins in your careers, right? But you also had a few losses. Not everybody can't beat Floyd or win every fight, right? So I wanted to ask you, what are some of the valuable lessons that you learned from the losses?
Oh man, perseverance. You know, it will be real easy to lose a fight and just say, man, I'm gonna give up on this, or you know, maybe this ain't cut out for me, or I'm not cut out for this. Every time you lose a fight, because, you know, emotionally, that's where you are, you know? But just, that whole get back on the horse mentality is huge. You got to be able to compartmentalize, say, hey, this is what I did wrong, or maybe I didn't do anything wrong. Maybe I did everything right, and this dude was just better than me on this day, you know? So just being honest with yourself about where your holes are or what you did wrong, and be proactive about fixing those things. You know, if you can say, because like, I'm the 1%. I'm the 1% of fighters that start as an amateur, go pro, go to a larger organization. Like, for every one of me, you got 100 guys that fight on mid-cars, fighting in their backyard of their hometown type thing.
Just like the NFL. Making it to professional fighting is just as difficult.
Yeah.
If not 100%. More, because there's less.
100%.
Yeah. To make it to the big stage. And then it's not just getting there, it's staying there.
Yeah.
For any professional sport. But just, you know, I guess everything that you've been through fighting, that led to when you stopped being a professional fighter. Walk us through what your mindset was, what was next for you there, all the lessons you learned from, and all that hard work. Where did it land you?
Well, I knew that at that point, I had seen the world and done a bunch of stuff. I knew I didn't want to work for somebody else. You know, I wanted to be my own, but I didn't know what that looked like. Mm-hmm. So I had really absorbed this knowledge of fitness and martial arts, and I felt like I wanted to carry that on. So I went and opened a gym. And I opened a gym over on Great Neck Road, Britt's Fitness and Self-Defense, and did that. Ended up selling that to come back over and open what was formerly Hybrid Pride Training Center, and went on and opened 2 other gyms, Britt's Personal Training, one over in Lynn Haven, one over in Chesapeake, and was able to sell both of those off in a productive way. Like, a lot of us have to purge a business and make no money doing it. You know, luckily I can say I created the infrastructure to where somebody was willing to come in and buy what I had created. So that was cool.
So if we could pause right there, just because to accomplish that, I think, is almost every entrepreneur's dream. I guess anyone that is in the entrepreneurial space already, you always want some type of exit, because then you can go on to other ventures and other opportunities. You want to build a business that's sellable. So in order to even just accomplish that, for those who don't understand how much that really takes, because you got to have something to sell.
Right.
So you have to have some type of system, processes, profit and loss statement, a predictable income of the business to even have a sellable product. You didn't have any background when you started. It sounded like you just said, hey, this is what I'm passionate about. I'm going to go for it. I don't want to work for anyone else. And I know with my work ethic and my tenacity, I'm going to figure it out. So walk us kind of through what you had to figure out and what you had to do in order to have a sellable business.
Okay, so going back to those first 2 gyms that opened up, Britt's and then Pride, that was a testing ground, trial and error. With any business that you go into, the most important thing is data and time, right? So the amount of data that you can put into a business is gonna be what makes that business valuable. And data can come in a couple of different forms. For martial arts or for gyms, is your client base. If you got 400 students, you know, if you come about my business, you're going to acquire 400 students, and the nut on 400 students is X, right?
You're buying that income stream.
You're buying that income stream. So when I went and opened my personal trainer studios, I had already was able to create a system that showed me how to acquire clients, how to keep clients there, and make sure that I didn't have to be there for the client to continue to show up. So then I went and subleased to other trainers, so where they can train their clients, let them form class formats that kept people in the building. For example, I had a trainer, Ryan. I'll say, hey, Ryan, you train your clients here. Your sublease rate is this. You pay me this a month. To offset that, let's do a class. It could be a cardio kickboxing class. That cardio kickboxing class has 30 people in the class. They pay me a membership fee that I give him a 5% kickback on. So he's there for an extra hour a day, 1 extra hour to teach the class. He has 30 people on the floor, and he's getting an extra so many odd dollars just for staying 1 more hour a day. So if I told you, if you can work 8 hours a day, or you can work 9 hours a day and you'll make 10 times what you were making, then you're going to jump at that.
Easy.
Right? So that's kind of where it was. You know, for every member that came in, I'd give them extra $5 or whatever the number was.
Yeah.
So, you know, times that by 30, that extra $150 ain't bad for staying an extra hour.
So what I think really the audience needs to take out of that, you just said a lot there.
Yeah.
And just for me to dissect it from an entrepreneurial standpoint is what you effectively did, Antwain, because you were the best one to train people. You probably were the most qualified for that type of class.
Right.
Former professional fighter. Like I said, you had the accolades, the accomplishments, but you realized that, hey, I can't work in the business and work on the business.
Right.
So you effectively, that's what a lot of entrepreneurs where they fail at is they spend so much time trying to control every process. What you did is delegate, gave them a percentage, was 100%. Able to buy back some of your time. And I think that's where a lot of us make the mistake in business because we're afraid to share some of that profit, and it hinders our time and handcuffs us in able to do other ventures and other things.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I was so... And when I first got into it, that was a problem. I was so tethered to the business that I wasn't able to grow the business. Like the product is you, right? And so if you go into a business with that mindset, you're the only one that can make stuff happen. You're the only one that can do it this way. Then again, you're going to be tethered to that business. There's no way that business is going to grow because now you're dependent on people to come and find you instead of you going out and finding the people who got to be your clients or your patrons. So that's something I had to learn, trial and error. And the first thing that anytime I hired a new trainer, first thing I would ask them, say, you want to teach a class? First thing I would do, what are you good at? Oh, kickboxing is not your thing. Are you good at yoga? Let's do a yoga class.
I like that.
Self-defense. Let's do a self-defense class. You good at, I don't know, powerlifting? We'll do a powerlifting class. And so we created because you can sell just about anything if you market it right.
Yep.
I like that.
So I created a system where I gave the trainers the liberty to teach what they want to teach. I didn't say, hey, you're a great CrossFitter, so I'm going to teach you to get you to teach a kickboxing class. I was like, no, CrossFit is your thing, or CrossFit type stuff is your thing. Let's find something that you're good at and then let people know you're good at it. That's what I'm going to do. Yeah. I'm going to force feed you these clients, and you just got to show up. And so instead of me having to be here 12 hours a day teaching every class.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
That's how I do it.
Yeah. One of my favorite parts about what you said about that is the product is you. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs need to know that also too. You know, or the product, of course, you're the star of it because it's you. It's Antwain Britt, you know, you're a former professional fighter. You have all the attention on you. But where people make their mistake is they want to, you know, keep all the attention on them. They don't want to scale up. You use your leverage as a product. You know, everybody want to come to you to be able to hire trainers, you know, then be able to outsource and build a business up. So I think that was very valuable that you did.
Some of the best advice I ever got was from a client, and he's been a client of mine for 15 years. And I came to him and I was like, was heavy one day. He's like, man, what's going on? I was like, man, I'm working hard. I got like 12 clients, 12 hours back to back. And I was like, I'm here all day, you know, I love training, but it's just, I don't have time for anything else. Yeah. And he was like, this is what you need to do. and you need to take my advice. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to take it. He's like, you going to take my advice, right? And I was like, yeah. He was like, raise your rates by 18% right now. And whoever doesn't want to pay it, cut them as a client.
Yeah.
And because if you take value away from yourself, people are going to devalue you.
I love that.
And I was, because when you take a jump like that, you're going to be afraid, like, man, I might lose half my clients.
Can you say that one more time?
Yeah. So, yeah, he said, raise your rates by 18. A very specific number. He said, raise your rates by 18%. Whoever doesn't want to pay it, cut them as a client. Whoever does pay it, keep them around. And that's your new rate. That's what you want people to pay you. How much is your value? How much is your value worth? How much is it worth for you to get up, get your ass out of bed, get ready for work, come in here at 6 a.m. and be here all day? How much is that worth to you?
Absolutely.
I was like, $100 an hour. He was like,
that.
charge $100 an hour then. So it was one of those things. And I've seen it. It's our nature. We want something. We want to get the most that we can for the minimal amount of possible. Yeah. That's human nature, right? Mm-hmm. And I found I would give friends and family discounts. I would say, hey, my rates are this, but I'll see you for this, right? And it was a cool way to get people in, but if you do that over and over again, now your $100 rate has turned into a $75 rate, a $65 rate, a $55 rate, and then when you do that, you will have people who will come and see you, and then you'll have a trainer that's not as good as you, and I've ran into this situation, not as good as you, who charges more that they'll go to, because in our head, we're like, well, this is more expensive, it must be better, right? When originally I gave you that rate because we were people, because I was trying to help you out, right? So he was like, stop doing that shit.
I like that. So know your worth.
So know your worth and acknowledge your worth and make people know your worth.
And what happened after that?
Through the roof. Yeah. Through the roof. That's when I opened my second gym. That's when I was able to set those systems in place to where another guy who's VB Fitness now, he came and bought my infrastructure. And
that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love it.
It was awesome.
So this is crazy. I mean, so just a quick background. Graphics major, you wanted to be, billboards, comics, stuff like that. You get into a professional fighting career. Nowhere along the line do I hear you're a chef. How in the world do you come up with a cookie company?
Yeah. I'm not.
How did you handle all that?
So I'm not a chef. I'm not even going to disgrace any chefs out.
Chef Antwain.
And I'm not a baker either.
Yeah.
I bake one thing, and that's cookies.
Okay.
I'm really good at that.
Well, yeah.
And it's really how that business started. So I started Juggernaut Cookies in 2019.
Okay.
But in 2016, I actually had the idea. And I had a girl at the time, and I came home, and I had a KitchenAid mix. I was like, I think I'm going to try to make cookies. And her response was, why is anyone going to buy cookies from you? That was her response. And I was like, maybe she's right. Who going to buy cookies from the fighter guy, right? Mm-hmm. I put it on the back burner. And fast forward, that relationship didn't work out. I'm single. And the first thing that I felt wasn't anger towards her at all. It was anger towards myself, because I let someone else, no matter who it was, talk me out of something that I know I would be great at, or had the belief I would be great at. And that day, I started baking.
2019.
And I came up with a few recipes, and I was just in the lab just destroying stuff. I messed up so much stuff. And when I finally found the recipe that ended up being the original Juggernaut cookie, I gave dozens to my daughter. And I was like, she went to her job. She worked at La Petite Academy daycare. And she came over. She's like, Dad, these cookies are delicious. Can I take these to work tomorrow? I was like, yeah, take them. I don't need to eat any more cookies. And the ladies loved them. She came back and she said, can you make 3 dozen for work? How much would it be? I was like, babe, honestly, I would have to charge $8 a cookie because they're giant, And she was like, they don't care. They want them. Make them. They'll pay that price.
Yeah.
And I was like, bet they will. Because it's a good product, right? and I put a price tag on it immediately. I didn't say, well, it's going to cost me $8, but for you, my daughter, my flesh and blood, for you, I do it for this price. Nope, it'll be $8. They'll pay $8. And that's how it started. I actually went into a commissary kitchen, rented a commissary kitchen for about 3 months. And it just was baking. I would leave the gym, go change my clothes, and go right and bake until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
That's crazy.
And individually wrapped everything. Everything was pristine.
So start out of your own kitchen, the commissary kitchen.
The commissary kitchen.
But you made the original recipe in your back.
In my own, my own kitchen, and launched the website. I got gully. Launched the website and was off to the races. As soon as I launched my website 3 months into baking, I went on back order by 3 months.
Oh, wow.
No way I could satisfy. We grossed $143,000 from October to the end of January.
Wow.
That's crazy.
2019 to 2020.
So talk to us about that supply chain issue. Like, okay, boom, as far as, but you are the supply.
Yeah.
So what do you do there? Like how, okay, you have to realize, okay, if I ever am I going to scale this business, I need to figure out how to produce more cookies.
Right.
Walk us through that process.
So it was, so after the website, we went on back order, like people were waiting months, 3 to 4 months to get their stuff, which was kind of a blessing in disguise because it gave a sense of exclusivity.
Yep.
Like, man, this must be good. If I got to wait 3 months to get it.
Yeah.
So I went and found a commercial baker kitchen that I was able to go in, give them my recipe, have them sign an NDA, give them my recipe and say, hey, I need a team to recreate this. And they did. And I went in and tested every flavor. I was chunky that year.
Yeah.
Tested every flavor and it panned out. And now I have a co-packer that's able to create my product for me. And that's how we went on for the next 2-3 years.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Yep.
And so, well, go ahead, Chris.
I was just going to say, so I know you started out with the giant cookies and such, but as we see here, we got, smaller cookies.
Look at that good looking fella. Look at that good looking fella.
Yeah.
I know, but they're the bells and whistle products too. So we have a whole bunch of different options. So kind of walk us through like how you went about making your menu and such. Like what inspired you to offer different flavors and such instead of just sticking to that one big giant cookie?
Right. Well, as a business owner as a whole, you want to be a business. You don't want to be a product.
Yeah.
And one product could be doing terribly and another product be doing great. Right. So that's what I wanted to do. And being a MMA fighter and being in the fitness world, I always wanted a healthier baked option. Right. So I went into the lab. I sourced a company that was able to work with me to develop a protein cookie, something that was healthier. And because I was eating a protein cookie every day, and one day I was eating it, I was like, this is not even good. Yeah. It's chalky, it's dry. I can do better than this. Mm-hmm. And I went to the lab and we created what is now the diesel Juggernaut cookie. Yeah. 12 grams of protein, gluten-free, non-GMO. And it actually tastes like a cookie. No chalky aftertaste, no heavy proteiny taste.
Absolutely.
No grit. So, which is, if you go to 99% of cookies in this space, that's what you're going to get. Yep. So I wanted to make sure from a performance standpoint, it tasted better than everything. And from a functionality standpoint, the macros were exactly what you want it to be. It's a meal replacement. You want it to be satisfied. You want it to sustain you. But you don't want to look on the back of a package and see 50 grams of carbohydrates or 30 grams of sugar, right? You want to see something that's minimal that you can feel good about eating. So we created that product. We launched it back in May of 2023 and did really well. We're in about 50 locations right now, 7-Eleven, Taylor's Do It Center, Casual Pint, Nutrition Corner, a Maker. We're in a lot of locations. So
there's a few questions with that. One thing the biggest thing I'm surprised is you're able to kind of have a better quality product, but stay in line with other things in this category.
Right.
Like, so that is a testament for, I guess, you sourcing everything from the ingredients to your co-packer to be able to get your costs to be profitable. I guess that was something that you've gotten better and better at over time.
Right. it's a superior product. It's still small, so we're able to kind of dot all of the I's and cross all the T's. As the companies get bigger, they learn how to, and they grow an infrastructure to where they can do more, make more for a lesser price, and kind of squeeze pioneer products like this out. I mean, that's business. You know, you got the Cliffs and the Lenny and Larry's and Quest. Like they can make their cookie for 8 cents, right? Where it costs me, you know, 75, you know, $1 to make that cookie, right? So my wholesale price is going to be higher. So that prevents pioneer products from getting in. So it's going to take distribution companies and retailers to say, hey, this is a great product. Let's get you in, even though we're not making as much margin, because even though my price is more expensive, doesn't mean I sell it to them for more expensive, right? So I'm taking a little more of a haircut on the price. But in order for me to grow and get to the point where a Quest and the Lenny and Larry's is, I have to make less margin, so the store makes more margin to be competitive with those, so they'll keep bringing my product in. What makes it different is that we sell through. Now, if you go, for example, to the 7-Eleven on the corner of Kentsville and Volvo, they sold through 3 times. So they've taken my minimum orders, I put them in the store, and they are selling through 3 times as fast as Lenny and Larry's, Quest, Cliff Bar, Con Bar.
Wow.
How did you even get into 7-Eleven?
Man, shaking hands and kissing babies. I would go and I would go in the store and say, hey, here's a sample of my cookies. Here's my card. I'm local. It's a better product. If you don't like the product, you don't talk to me again. But if it's good to you, it's going to be good to your customer. And they did it, and they were like, all right, we'll give it a try. We'll take a small minimum and see how they sell through. And I do my social media posts. I drive traffic to these stores, and I put them in 5 7-Elevens first. Laskin Road, Volvo Parkway, First Colonial, Princess Anne Road, and General Booth.
Right.
And within a month, sold out all locations. And got calls, say, hey, what's your minimums? Said, this number, let's triple that. Bring it back in, sell through again.
Wow.
That was it.
Yeah.
That was it. Now, again, I'm making less money per cookie than like the big boys, but we're selling through 3 times as fast as the big boys.
You just need to get in the door.
Yeah, this is the thing. Getting in the door is hard. That's the hardest thing.
What percentage of your sales are direct to consumer? No.
We're about 35% are direct to consumer through our website.
Okay.
Which is ideally what you want, because you make more margin, obviously. But there's no way you're gonna reach as many people as the distributor will.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah,
so you're kind of using, taking a small margin now to kind of build brand awareness, brand presence, and get shelf space. Stay in front of people's eyes.
Right.
Where ideally do you see the cookie going? What's the vision for it over the next 6 months, year, 5 years from now?
Well, I want to be a true direct consumer brand. Okay. That's what I want. And that's not to say we're not going to wholesale, because of course we are. But I want people to understand that when you buy my product, you're buying the best version of what this can be. This is not something that's made in a factory, or like a large factory that has, 500 employees, that down the line, your product becomes less and less and less and less and less. The cookie you're going to get now is the cookie you're going to get 5 years from now. So I want people to understand that, and understand that as a direct-to-consumer product, direct-to-consumer is going to be our best bet. So order from the website. Like, it's cool. If you see my stuff, buy it. Don't get me wrong. I would love for you to buy it anytime you see it. But also understand that when you buy directly from me, that's more beneficial to the company. So if you love the product, jump online. It's going to be way easier for you to jump online and from your phone than go into 7-Eleven.
We're going to put the link for the website in the description.
Yeah.
But I mean, while the people are listening and such, what's the link to the website? So type it in right now.
Cookiehunk.com. No, so www.cookiehunk.com.
Cookiehunk.com.
Cookiehunk.com. Yeah, that's a name that or Juggernaut Cookies, either one. I got both of them. Juggernaut Cookies is great, and that's what I'm known for. But as we started to scale and started getting the bigger locations, have more customers going to the website, we found that Juggernaut was just hard for some people to spell.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
it was one of those things, make it one syllable, cookiehunk.com. Super easy.
Yes,
Fun. Yeah, so.
And wrapping up, we like to ask this question to most of all of our entrepreneurs that come on the show. If you're able to go back 10 years, let's just say, or give your younger self a lesson, one big piece of advice, what was that one piece of advice you gave?
Man, one piece of advice.
Younger Antwain.
Young Antwain. 10 years ago?
We can go back 15. I don't want to show your age, 15,
man.
20 if you want.
But you know what?
Yes, sir.
Don't listen to other people. That's the biggest thing. And I never actively listen to, like, if you said the sky's blue and the sky's actually gray, I'm not going to say, all right, well, you say the sky's blue. But I always would absorb things that people were saying and people around me, and I would, like, modify some behaviors based on that. It's like, all right, well, they probably know more in this space than I do. Let me go ahead and kind of take a little bit of what they say, a little bit of what they say, and kind of, I would never do that, because your first initial inclination is usually the best one.
Your gut instinct.
My gut instinct, like going back to 2016, where my girl was like, cookies ain't gonna, I'm gonna buy cookies from you. Man, if I would have started in 2016, I'd be, 4 more years ahead of the curve. So, again, disappointed in myself more than her, but at the end of the day, it's like, you have to have confidence in because you're gonna fail. If you want to be a business owner, you're gonna fail at shit, right? You're gonna, this is my 4th business. And, I've had some wins, I've had some losses, right? So, understand that it's not sexy. Being a business owner is not sexy. You're gonna, like, long days, long nights. You're gonna work harder than you ever worked. There's no such thing as a Saturday. There's no such thing as Christmas and Thanksgiving.
Absolutely.
Like, those days are all the same, and you have to be okay with being that. Your need to build something and to have success is going to have to outweigh your need to be festive, your need to be around for every holiday, your need to be able to vacation, a month a year. It's not going to happen at the beginning. Now, when you bust that ass, then you get to the point to say, all right, let me sit back and enjoy the fruits a little bit. But
yes, sir.
That's not something that's going to happen initially.
So to wrap it up, we usually let the guests also ask me and both Chris one question each. So we'd like to open the floor, and then afterwards you could tell us how to also get in contact with you if they have any questions about Cookie Hunk.
All right. So now I definitely, I've had a question since we got together about doing this. So, like, just the real estate market in itself. All right. We're seeing a bunch of interest rate being thrown around, right? And so we all know, or a lot of us don't know, that you can actually buy down a rate, right? And so we are in a position that we haven't seen in years. It's like, I bought my house, I was like 3.2%. Oof. Right now, right? Right now, what are we up to? Like 7.5%, something like that. Does that slow down the market of people buying because you can't refinance, right? Because their rates are higher than what they were when you bought.
Yeah.
Is that slowing down the market? And if it's not, how is the market being offset?
So I guess I could take that one initially. With the real estate market, what happened is COVID really caused hyperinflation, right? They infused all this money into the economy, and then now they got to do something. So when they raise the rates, what happens is, yes, it does kind of make lending more strict, but what has happened is inventory is still really low for what you just said.
Is it?
So inventory is low because people can't afford to sell and move. So there is a supply and demand. There's more demand than there is supply. And as a seller, for me, what I've experienced is that I'm getting offers without closing costs, without inspections. Just going back to the COVID market, it's getting kind of crazy because people still have things you have to move. They have reasons why they got to sell their house or they got to buy a bigger house or downsize. And what you also have to understand, too, is where we're at generationally. a lot of the baby boomers are aging out. So a lot of them are either getting old where they need to downsize, they need one-story homes, they need smaller homes. They're liquidating rental portfolios, a lot of moving. We live in our market, which is Hampton Roads. We have a different experience than the national economy because our economy is stabilized by the world's largest military population. We have the largest Navy base here. Yeah. We have the Army. We have constant flux of in and out due to our economy. And with that, too, there's a lot of vacation. People don't realize, because I'm from here in Virginia Beach, how much of people own properties just for a vacation home here. Oh. I think that goes undernoted in how transient that is. So you have people living in Northern Virginia, D.C., where, hey, a $500,000 vacation home is kind of nothing to them because how much income, how much they make up there, which again is stabilized by the government. So you look at where the money is here and everything going in, the political climate with the election, we don't know how that's shaking out, but rates aren't going back down anytime soon. And I mean, if you look at all what Wall Street's saying and look at kind of the writing on the wall and paying attention to things, you got to look at, hey, the money never disappears. One of the most valuable lessons I learned in real estate from one of my mentors is it just changes directions.
Okay.
It flows different directions. So you have to kind of skate to where the puck's going to be in real estate, and you follow where the money's going. And so, like, again, you keep your cash ready, you stay on the sidelines because there's got to be some type of correction. It keeps going up and up. But hey, look, I remember when I first started and getting back into flipping and stuff like that, people told me the market was crashing then. That was 2 years ago. Look, there's no perfect time to get in the market. There's either two times, too early or too late. You're always going to be like, oh, man, I should have got in earlier. I should have did this. Or like, man, I got in too late, man. The prices went up. You're going to always have that feeling. It's the same thing with the stock market. You can never time it perfectly. You just have to make a sound investment decision, know your numbers, and, take calculated risk. That's what real estate is. It's calculated risk. It's still a risk. But if you always hesitant, just like in entrepreneurship, hesitant to pull the trigger, inaction kills all dreams.
Man.
You know what I mean?
Hey, I'm glad I asked that question. I know, right? Man, y'all need an agent?
There's this guy right here. Yes, sir. Retired. But so I know we're kind of getting short on time. I guess one thing that we want to highlight, we obviously want to thank you for spending time. Again, highlight your business. How do they follow you on social media? How do they get in contact again if they want to order some cookies? Drop that for us.
So you can order cookies at cookiehunk.com or juggernautcookies.com. Promo code bells and whistles 10 to save 10% off your entire order. So you'll save a little bit of cash. You can find me on Instagram if you just want to talk. You just want to, just say what's up. I appreciate it. You see me in the street, say what's up. But Antwain the Juggernaut on Facebook, Antwain Britt or Instagram, Antwain Britt on Facebook, Antwain Britt on TikTok. LinkedIn, and what else?
Yes, sir.
My MySpace page is like, what, AB the out.
Well, we appreciate your time. Yes, Chris will take us on out.
Antwain the Juggernaut Britt, appreciate your time, man. Former fighter turned top entrepreneur. We definitely appreciate you on Let's Talk Assets podcast.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I
Let's
appreciate
Talk
it.
Assets.
Take care.
Peace.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate it.